So you bought a Vevor greenhouse before page was blowing up. You're a gardener. You were in the market for a greenhouse, and this looked like a good price option. And it is. Under 200 bucks, 160, even down as low as just over 100 if you get the bonuses and discounts. And so you get it in, you're excited, you got your greenhouse. All those For You TikToks that came across, and it was what you thought you would get for the most part. But now you're starting to get horror stories. Stories about how the piping's too thin, the plastic's ripping, the wind's taking them out. Well, unfortunately, in this day and age, thanks to old man inflation, a $200 item is considered throwaway. You get it, it lasts a year, you throw it away, you get something else. That's not very sustainable, that's not very useful. I mean, everyone's pinching pennies now. But you wanted a greenhouse, you needed one. Wintertime's coming. You got some plants you want to keep out of the cold. You got some things you're planning on starting for the spring, and you want to get an early go on it. So how can we take what's basically a throwaway item in all respects and turn it into something useful, something that'll last? Now, I just bought mine here in the last week or so. We're in November. Fall's coming. Down here in South Louisiana, we probably still got another month or so before it really gets cold. But I got a few items I want to protect. And so, for the price, you can't complain. And I figured I'd give it a shot. And looking at it and looking at all the stories about how it fails, how it's weak, and the problems, how can we take that greenhouse and reinforce it, strengthen it, make it something more useful, something that might last a little longer. And so my plans are in this video, or a series of videos, is to go over some key points about the greenhouse and just share some of my ideas how to make it a little better, a little stronger, and try to eliminate some of that throwaway culture that we unfortunately have become comfortable with in this country. And so my plans are, we'll look at the instruction manuals, we'll look at the actual assembly of the greenhouse, point out some weaknesses, some things that can be done better. We'll look at some ways to modify or upgrade it. And then finally, if you've unfortunately had one and it did fail on you, what is some workarounds that you can put in place to make it last, to reuse it or keep it going for a little longer. So if you would just join me as I share my thoughts, like I said, in this video and a series of videos possibly, and let's see if we can kind of help things stretch with the price of things nowadays. And I know everyone really can't afford to just throw money away. So I hope you'll join me. Well, looking at the instructions here, you see a few items. It only takes 2 tools to put it together. A little wrench, a little Allen wrench. It's not too bad, not too hard to do. I actually had 1 extra bolt in mine, which is a good thing. These are your anchor points, supposedly to hold it down. You can throw this away, this is useless. You might reuse it to stake out some plants, maybe some flowers or something, but as far as keeping a greenhouse down, it wouldn't work. Too smooth, it won't hold in the ground, and it's just not big enough. Instruction manual is not too bad. It's very basic, very simple, as we see here. Fortunately with mine, see what we're working with. It's all your items in it. It's a pictorial diagram. Each individual piece is numbered. Follow the patterns on here, you'll do well. Thankfully, all the parts came with mine. I've heard stories of some people having bolts missing and whatnot. Shows you some of the close-ups when you're putting it together. Your cross pipes go to the inside. Your brace will actually fall between the two pieces. Of course, the flat part of your bolts go to the outside so it doesn't rip your plastic, and the extension part of the bolts, the threaded part, should be to the inside. Again, step by step. Pretty simple if you ever put anything together nowadays. You can do it with one person. I'm about 6'4". I didn't have any problems, but if you're short, you might get someone to help you or get you a ladder. They say to bury the base in the ground. I'm not planning to do that. Number one, I don't want it to rust out. Number two, I want to have the option of moving it, but I'm going to anchor it down sufficiently. But if you're not going to anchor it well with ropes, you may want to look at that option. So, a little point of interest here. This is, I'm assuming, Chinese interpreted into English. And you know, it doesn't always translate word for word. And this is kind of funny. Up here it says in this warning page, it is forbidden to use in the above weather conditions: thunderstorm, heavy winds, and snow. Now again, I'm in South Louisiana. I don't ever have a problem with snow down here. Occasionally we'll get some ice. But if you're in a snow zone, you know, I'm not familiar with that, so you might work around that on your own. But we do get hurricanes, we do get thunderstorms, and wind is definitely an issue. And so hopefully with some modifications to this thing, I'll anchor it strong enough to last through whatever Mother Nature may bring within reason. Again, this is a lightweight item. It's not intended to be foolproof, but you know, again, we can make things work. And it's not a bad item. It's just you got to know what you're working with when you go into it, so you can work around whatever weaknesses it may have. As you see, I already pre-assembled the frame. You know, again, not too bad. I mean, for the price, you can't beat it. Even if it doesn't last quite as long as you'd like, it's still within the reasonable price for most people. As you can see, the piping, not quite as big as my thumb. I mean, you're looking at between 3/4 and 1 inch, somewhere's in there. Very lightweight. When you're tightening it, you can actually over tighten it and it will actually smash the piping. So be careful on that. You want a little give in it, but you don't want it too loose as well. Again, looking at the bracing, make it fall between your two pieces. Threads to the inside. It's tightened down. It's a little wobbly, but we haven't anchored it yet. I think being it's a hoop, side wind load, it'll have some play, and I think it'll be all right because the wind will carry over. However, on the front and back, you've got a lot of flat surface to contend with, and that wind will push through that. It would have been nice if we had some bracing coming down on the front and back to give it a little more stability there. And they could have included a couple more of these diagonal braces to go all along the base of it. There are 4 of them included with the kit. My plan is to add some extra bracing in here to stiffen it up a little bit more. So we're coming to the end of my 10-minute allotment here on TikTok, so I think we'll call this part 1. I will work up some bracing ideas, and in the next phase we'll look at what you can do to stiffen this up, to strengthen it. And again, you know, if you have ideas, put them in the comments, and we'll try to work these things out together. Let's make cheaper items last, and I think we'll have a better world for it. Thank y'all, and join me again on part 2.